Today, I'm going to give you a bit of background on the transformational acquisition by Midas, is the Namibian copper silver gold project that we call Atavi. Won't dwell on that page. Exceptional asset. It was owned by a major zinc producer. It had a lot of money spent on the project. We think about 20 million US has been spent on the project in total. It's had a lot of drilling. It's had about 56 kilometres of core drilling. The project is quite large, about 1,800 square kilometres. There are many dozens of mineralised copper outcrops and drill holes, and many drill targets to be tested. In total, between the two Atavi projects, we have about 2,000 square kilometres. It's located in Namibia, located close to good infrastructure. Namibia is a Tier 1 African mining jurisdiction, with very supportive and very consistent fiscal terms. We have a solid team. We have a solid board and management with significant African experience. You can see some of the drill hits that have been intercepted on these deposits. Very high grade copper, silver for one deposit, and then copper, gold, and silver for another deposit. And we'll have a combination of those. That combination will vary from deposit to deposit. About 170 million shares on issue. Market cap's around 59 million. Board and management have about 8.7%. Associates and insiders have quite a bit of other stock as well. So it's a very tightly held stock. There's a few institutions on there now, but this is really early days in the transformation of Midas. The board, Sarah Kelly is our chair. Myself, I've had a lot of experience in Africa. I was the first CEO of Perseus Mining, so very experienced in West Africa and in Central Africa. Mick Wilson, a very experienced geologist on the board as well. Michael Boehm, a mining engineer. He was on the board with me at Perseus, so quite experienced in certainly as a project matures. And you got Mike Naylor as a corporate advisor. Mike was on the board a year ago, has stepped down, but still helps us out on things as we go. We have a very strong team in country now. So we have 3 geologists at the moment in country, and we have 2 backups in Australia that go in and out as required. And we have we're building up a nice, strong Namibian team that has experience. Some of these guys we got from the prior owners, Nexa. But it's fair to say the team is now ready for drilling. And that's something we wanted to get ready as the project acquisition completes. We'll hit the ground on drilling on Atavi. In the meantime, we'll be drilling on South Atavi sometime this month. We'll be drilling on South Atavi, and hopefully sometime next month or Q4 sometime, we'll be drilling on Atavi. Location, we're located north of Windhoek, the capital, about 3.5 hours. Not far from the Namibian gold area, which you might know from Weir Gold, or you might know from B2 Gold. B2's Gold's got the Otjikoto mine, which is quite close to us. It's about 25 kilometres away. Then you got the uranium guys closer to the coast in the desert area. You got the port at Walrus Bay. There's rail to site. There's good sealed roads all the way to site. Extensive grid power through our area. We also have about 100 kilometres away. We have a large smelter, which is starving for feed at the moment, so that's encouraging. That's owned by Sinomine. So some pretty big names in Namibia. Namibia is one of the top few countries in Africa in terms of the Fraser Institute. So it's a great place to work, uh, low cost, and where we are, we don't have the water problems. Some of the uranium guys have a bit of issue with water, but where we are, we've got much higher rainfall. We've got good groundwater. So we've got the groundwater, we've got the power, we've got the rail, and we're quite next door to South Africa, so you can get stuff manufactured very cheaply. Mining costs in Namibia are significantly lower than Western Australia. What are we looking for? We're looking for these high-grade, structurally controlled, sediment-hosted gold deposits. Sorry, copper, gold, silver deposits. The geology is actually the same geology as Zambia and Congo, but it appears we don't have many of the big strata-bound deposits that go for kilometers. They tend to be constrained but very high grade, quite wide, some of them. T13 example here on the figure on the side there is about 25 meters wide. It's consistently high grade. You see it's mainly chalcocite, which is a very high grade copper mineral, produces a very high grade copper concentrate. It's a lot more chalcocite than there is chalcopyrite in T13. They come to surface. We know T13 comes to surface, and there's no deep Kalahari sands on top, so they're not that hard to find. And in fact, there are dozens of these deposits that have been found so far, but remain to be drill tested. So T13 was a new discovery made by the prior owners, Nexa, and it came to surface and it was just missed. There's been very little historic exploration in this area. Give you some idea of some of the copper intercepts. That's some of the shallow 20 meters at 4% from near surface, 17 meters at 16%, very high grade. As I mentioned, more than 20 million spent on the project to date. Only about 40% of the project area has been soil geochemmed, and only about a third of that has actually been assayed for gold. Nexa, we're not interested in gold. There's some pretty significant gold anomalies. We will test those along with the copper deposits, and as we work through a big long list of targets. There's a figure there. On the figure on the left, you can see there's a 30-kilometer long belt of copper anomalies and copper outcrops surrounding a domal feature. T13 is just one of those. We've identified drill targets on multiple of the other ones. The figure on the right is just another cross section of T13. You can see a bit how regular the grades are and how consistent the ore body is. So it will be open pit and underground target, T13, and that goes for all of them. So most of them come to surface or near surface. The other area that we're focusing on is the Deblin to Drykupi zone. Again, another 30 kilometers, many targets, many of them undrilled. You'll see that the recent drill hits at Deblin were quite impressive. It's about 15 to 17 meters, anywhere from 1.5% to 4% copper, bit of gold, bit of silver. Drykupi's, for instance, hasn't been drilled since the 1970s. It was discovered in the 70s. No work's been done on it in the last 50 years. So it's an interesting one because they got some pretty reasonable drill hits with copper and gold. And Hartspetersport is another one. It's came up with some good results, shallow. And we believe there will be a lot more of these drill targets turn up once we get out on the ground. We check where they got geochemical results, where they got rock chips, and we rank the deposits and drill targets. So we plan to, once we get acquisition completed, we plan to put one resourced rig on Devlin to drill out a resource, one on T13, and we'll have one exploration rig testing, the next top 10 or 15 targets, which once they become ready for any of those become ready for resource drilling, we will we'll put more diamond rigs on. So we'll have we hope to bring on another 2 diamond rigs next year as we ramp up drilling, looking for multiple targets, multiple deposits. Even though the area has million-ton copper deposits, we think that the likelihood is multiple deposits in the 200 to 400,000 ton range is the realistic target for this project. As I mentioned, great infrastructure in that area. There's a smelter. There's a town, rail, roads, mining. There's mining history in that area. We're very close to the Otchigoro gold mine, next to the Combat copper mine, so people understand it. There's plenty of people that worked underground there. So our strategy is to test, as I mentioned, to test multiple targets. We're looking for good grade copper, 2% better. We're looking for decent widths, 10-meter ore bodies that have good clean metallurgy and can host open pit and underground type ore bodies. South Atavi, it's next door to our Atavi project. We picked this up because we like the gold anomaly on there. There was a gold anomaly picked up, the gold anomaly defined about 28 years ago when gold crashed. It's just a geochemical anomaly at the moment, but there's quite a few values over 50, 100 ppb gold in wide space shallow drilling, and that's pretty significant for that part of the world. Normally the geochemistry is very subtle, so we're going to follow up that one in the near term. We've also got some copper targets on that project. It's Devlin style mineralization, so we'll follow up. Both of those in the interim while we're waiting for the Atavi project to come through the pipe. Give you some idea of the timeline. As I mentioned, at the moment, the team on site is what I call drill ready. They have sufficient capabilities now to look after multiple drill rigs. To start them off, they're going to commence drilling sometime this month on South Atavi. Then we'll wait for the completion of the acquisition. So the main part of the acquisition has happened. It's the transfer of the licenses to the target entity. Now, to acquire the shares in the target entity, we need a tick off from the Competitions Commission, Namibian Competitions Commission. And we're hoping to get that Q4, and then we'll start fire up with 3 rigs as soon as we get that, and then straight away we'll put out an initial resource estimate for T13. So it's a lot of news flow, hopefully starting in Q4, and then we'll into next year we'll ramp up. We do go through the wet season, but we believe we can drill through the wet season on the resource drilling at least. So there will be, and the wet season in that part of the world can be quite short, but we just don't know. Last year was quite wet, so it's hit and miss in Namibia, but certainly ramp up in the second half of Q1 2026. And maybe go to 5 rigs. That would be ideal to try and prove up as many tons of contained copper at good grades as we can. So it's quite a unique project. A lot of exploration potential in an area that's hosted big deposits. So it's all about location and geology, grade, and it's a cheap place to develop a mine. Infrastructure. It's got very good infrastructure. If you're going to be in Africa, you really want infrastructure.
And you've inherited quite a sorry to interrupt there, Mark, but you inherited quite a rich data set there as well, 56,000 meters of drill core. And
a lot of geophysics. Our Aussie geophysicists are going through all that, picking out targets.
Yeah. You've got a great, incredible platform to grow on.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And the way that transaction works is it's a $10 million US acquisition, but we only pay 3 up front, and the remainder come in based on economics. So once we finish the feasibility study, we pay another 3. On a decision to mine, we pay another 2. And then after 12 months after commercial production, there's another 2. So really only 3 million up front to get $20 million worth of spend.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good value. We'll have to sort of wrap it up there, or in a moment or two, Mark, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Did you?
I think this last page is, people can read that at their leisure. Summarizes the company. It's an exceptional project. Plenty of room for discoveries and good metals. There's essentially no lead zinc in any of the deposits that we plan to drill in the short term. And we have the experience in Africa, extensive experience in Africa. So it's not new to us, and Namibia is pretty forgiving country.
Very good. Well, thanks, Mike. Really appreciate you running through the opportunity there at Midas. That sounds fantastic.
Thanks.
All the best
Thanks,
with
Alex.
it. We'll keep a close eye on your progress.
Okay.
Thank you for your time today.
Thanks.